Hey guys, welcome to my redo of our class time that went horribly wrong when none of my files worked this week. So I figured everything out and I can show you how to set up your books correctly. So actually quite a bit has changed since when I had set up my files originally. So I want to change how we actually do our books sort of from the start. So hopefully none of you spent too much time trying to work with the template because it is actually no longer necessary to use the template. So the first thing we're going to do is create some new documents. So let's create a file. I've already created it here, but it's going to be essentially a 7 by 9 inch book with facing pages. So I could see here in my document setup that this is mine is 8 pages at the moment because I've already put a few things in to show you, but just start with one page, make sure facing pages is clicked, and your width will be 7 by 9. So that doesn't matter too much. We're just sort of approximating the size of what a book might, or an ebook might look like on a Kindle, but the actual size is somewhat irrelevant because it will reflow anyway. But 7 by 9 is a good place to start. So we're not dealing with a template, we're just setting up this new doc. So the next thing we need to do is actually to create a book file. So I've got a way to do that right here under File, New, and then select Book. Okay, so I've already created this for myself, but you would go into here and write in the name of the book that you want and hit Save. Okay, so that's actually going to bring up this little panel here, which is your book panel. It's not in the window dropdown, unfortunately. It's not in any of these things until you've created it using the File New command. So now I can actually see mine is called Virginia Woolf, and it's appeared here in my window. So if I click on this, if I accidentally close my book panel, that's where it appears. I also dragged mine into my sidebar here so that it's easier to find. So the next thing I'm going to do is save out the file that I created. I'm going to call this Frontis, which you can see I've already done. And I'm going to add this file to my book. Okay, so I push the plus button and then I add Frontis. So now it's appeared as part of my book. Now I'm going to basically design this page, this book layout, to be what I want it to be. So I don't need to worry about the books anymore for the moment. So you might want to create a cover and then add front spread, inside spread, that type of thing. So I'm going to do this a little bit differently though. I'm going to use my cover from a different file. This actually allows the book to flow a little bit better in its actual usage. You may have remembered from last time or from playing with this a bit that if you put your cover image here and you export it, then you're going to see that image both on the cover when it's in your eBooks library, which depending on the program you're using, but it looks like this. We have a cover of a book. But it also shows up when you go to the first page of the books. So that's one thing we can kind of avoid by simply using a totally separate file. So I've got a file that I'm using. We saw it in class already last week, but oops, that's a bunch of my desktop crap. Here we go. Virginia Woolf. So it's this cover right here for the book. So I already have this saved out as a JPEG, so I'm not going to put it into my book file. Now, we know that in a regular book, when you open up the cover, let's consider a hardbound book. It never has anything actually on the underside of the cover in that inside front spread. So that's why we've got a blank here. Now, I want to have my like nice little opening spread here appear as an actual spread in the book. So that means I kind of need to fill this in with something because we remember from our lesson before, one thing that's still true is that white space disappears. So if I were to export this book right now, this would just vanish and this would actually be my front page. But I want to put an author photo here. So in order to force this to still have a page in the front, I'm just going to make like a random little swooshy thing and put it in here to fill some space. I have a font from Typekit that I can use called Dalliance. And Dalliance has some flourishes, and I'm just going to put like something totally random. This is not intentional in any way other than to fill space in this book and force a page break, which we'll go over in a second. Okay, so there's my random flourish. Next thing I want to do is put in my author photo. I've got that saved out right here. So I'm going to put my author photo right there. So I'm essentially ignoring the whole concept of ebook at the moment, and I'm just laying out a book as I like to see it in real life, pretending I have a cover on a separate page. So this is my inside of the front cover. This is my first spread after I turn page 1. I've put the title of the book here opposite the author photo as a nice intro. Then I'm going to add in here, which I've already done, my copyright information. I'm simulating a real book here. So I've got copyright information that I basically just took, I Googled fake copyright information and I found this little blurb that I could throw in there. I then put in a dedication, like we talked about in class, for my beloved husband. And after that, I'm going right to my copy. So I've got my copy that I'm pulling right here. I just copy and pasted it into my document, and I turned on smart text flow, so it automatically flowed through to the page 3. Okay, so I've kind of got this set up essentially the way I might want to see it. So the next thing that I have to do is, well, actually what I'm going to do is make an author bio. So this is going to show you kind of how the book thing really works. So I've decided that like this little short story is just too short for anyone to care enough about. So I want to include some of the author bio. Obviously, Virginia Woolf has like a really interesting history, so who knows, maybe people would like to see that. I made a new file, same size as the other file, and I just named it Author Bio. Now I need to add this to my book. So I'm going back to my book panel here, and I'm going to hit the plus button and add Author Bio. Okay, so now I have 2 books here or 2 pieces of books that are appearing into one book. So when I export, these will all come out together in one coherent thing. Okay, so I made myself another little text-based intro page for this, and I called it Who is Virginia Woolf? Then I copy and pasted. I just took this straight out of Wikipedia. If you'd like to include an author bio in yours as well, that's a great way to do it. We'll just copy paste that in, and maybe later we'll add in a little sources page to this. So I popped in just essentially the intro of that document from Wikipedia, and now I'm going to put a couple other things over here. I found another photo of her. Here we go. This is Virginia Woolf when she's a little bit older. So I'm going to put that in right there. And I also noticed in that Wikipedia page that there was this image of her signature. So I'm going to put that right in here as well. So now I have in my book in total, I have a flourish, I have an author photo and a frontispiece. I have copyright information, a dedication, and I have my book text. Then I follow that up with a break of a new section with a new text-based intro page, an author bio, one more photo, and a signature. Okay, so that's everything that I want to have in here. So I'm going to go ahead and save these files. So let's just look really quick at what happens if we export this as is. Whoops, I did that not the way I wanted to. So in order to get both of your documents to open together in one book, you need to go back to the Books panel hit export book to EPUB. It will always default to fixed layout, frustratingly, so we will have to remember to switch this to reflowable each time. I'm gonna, this actually defaults also to 2.1, so you need to change it to 2.3. Now, rather than rasterizing my first page, I'm gonna show you here how to get that cover. We will go to choose image. And normally this would be blank, but I've already done this once, so it showed up here. But I'm going to go find the image that I want. I actually moved it since this point. So I'd click on that little box. I find hauntedhouse.jpg, and I say open. So now this is showing the file for the front cover that I want to use. The rest I'm going to leave the same for now. Hit OK. Oh, sorry, this is actually because I'm going to demonstrate something else to you later. So that shouldn't show up for you. So we can see we got no cover showing up there. It's only here, which is nice. That's what I wanted. I've got my flourish. I have an author photo. Now this isn't flowing exactly the way I'd like it to. I've got some funky things happening, like this I want to be a spread with this instead of a spread with the flourish. My copyright page has jumped to the top, and I like it better at the bottom. Everything's pretty much jumped to the top. I get through my copy and, oh, that's not right. I've got this section header not really working. But I did that on purpose to show you. And I've got a bio here, which then is followed by a photo and a signature. So there's a few things I'd like to fix that I'll show you now. One is I would like this little lockup to appear on a page by itself instead of below the copy. And in fact, I would like it to come in the middle of the bio. I obviously want this thing to work the way I set it to, not this way. And I would like to get my spreads arranged correctly. So I've actually already inserted some things here. So if you were building this from scratch along with me, then you would find this looking a little bit different. Like the copyright page would actually be butted up to a haunted house, and haunted house may even start to bleed into this page. But I've fixed some page break issues, and I'm going to show you how to do that now while I also update some things. So I'm deciding that I actually don't want this here at all because it's messing up my spread. I want this to be a spread, not this. So I'm going to just delete that. Now, in order to get all of my page breaks set up the way I intend them to, there's a really quick way to insert them. So I'm going to my object export options. So if you didn't see how I did that, you can either go to here and select it this way, or you can select an image, right click, and go right there. That's faster. So I go to EPUB and HTML. And what I would need to do here is assign EPUB types to some of these. So I will go here and I will call this, let's see, maybe I will call this the preface? Sure, that's a preface. This is for a table of contents generating layers later. So just go with me here. So we'll add the preface, we'll assign preface to this picture. Now I'm going to go to custom layout. I'm going to keep it with alignment and spacing. My other options are float left or float right, but I would like this to be centered. So I do this and then I hit the center button. Now here's the magic thing. I'm going to insert a page break after this image. Okay, so that means that it will never end up butting up against the typography, no matter what the size of my e-reader is. So I'm just going to do those two little things, hit done, and I'm going to do that to everything. So I can also go here. You can see actually I already did some of this. I called this the title page. I'll show you this in 1 second. I will customize my layout, center it, and insert a page break. That one's already done. I'm going to do that to this guy as well. He's centered, and I want to move him over to this side. And I called this a preface before, but I already called something else a preface now. So let's see if there's a nice copyright page. There it is. And this one, I'm just trying to get all of my page breaks set up. Now, this is actually where that error is coming from. It says fixed, but I'm going to go back to size none. And I'll say done. And now I'm into my text, so I don't have to worry about that. Okay, so same thing on my other author bio. Object export options. I've got a page break after, and I'm going to change this to be centered. I've assigned it chapter. Now, I said I wanted to move this to inside of my photo, or of my text. So I've just moved that to right there. Okay, so I can't actually see that because I have my special characters turned off. Here we go, show hidden characters. So now you can see right here the little yen symbol to show that this is anchored to here. Okay, so next up, I will double check the export options on this one. So I am not going to put a page break after this because it is, I just want it to be in the middle. I don't want it to be, restarting a page every time. So we'll go to alignment and spacing, and I'm going to center it and say okay. Okay, so I'll save these as I've got them, and I will check my my ebook export as it is. Oops, hey, I forgot. It defaults to fixed layout. Have to go to reflowable. Otherwise, it looks perfect, and you're like, all right, I'm done, and it's not done. Everything here should be right. There's my cover. All right, so it's fixed this into a spread now, so that's great. This is aligned to the left. I've got page breaks. Got a bunch of copy. This is still not right, but I now have a photo that's embedded inside the copy, and it's centered nicely and goes on to this. So there's a few things now I would like to do as well. I'll show you really quick. I want to try to get that fixed, and I want to get some of these things that are floating off the top of the page. So I'll do that by adding some white space to them. Okay, so I've got this photo. I'm going to go back to my export options, and right here is where I'm going to add that space to push it down. So this is a little bit trial and error. E-readers are all different sizes, so it's hard to just say center it vertically. You can only guess and try to keep it from getting too far off to where it looks crazy. So let's just start with 30 here and see what happens. Now, this I would like to come down as well. And if this is 30, then maybe this is, 50. So let's go to my export options and change this to 50. Now, I want to point out one thing really quick. Right here under Preserve Appearance from Layout, I have rasterized the container. That is why this image is showing up the way we want it to, and the one in the author bio is not. So we're going to be applying that same style to the author bio in just a moment. Now this one's going to need quite a bit of spacing. Let's do 100. And I'm going to do another 50 for this guy. Okay, I think that was all we wanted to do to that. I'll save it. And for my author bio, I need to fix this guy. Okay, so let's go to my export options. I'm going to add that 50 pixels again. Now I'm going to switch this though to rasterize container. Rasterize container is going to make this copy show up coherently. That, I think, is all that I want to do. Actually, maybe I want to add a little space around this guy. It got a little close to the copy. So let's make it centered, and I'm going to put 30 pixels around that. And save. And now let's export to EPUB. Change it to reflowable. Replace. And let's take a look. All right, so this is a lot closer now to being centered than it was before. It's not perfect, but you know, if we just had a smaller book, then it gets closer to perfect. So it's probably good enough. I mean, you may want to refine it slightly for yours, but it's your call. So this is clearly not enough for this guy. So I would probably want to add more for the two of these. This is now working, hooray! So the rasterization worked to make that show up the way I wanted it to. I've got more space between these guys, so that's good, and everything else is looking the way I want. So that's all I'm going to show you today. We will go back when are we in class? We must be in class on Monday. We'll get back together on Monday, and we will look at how we can now work with styles to clean these up even more and get some HTML specifications added in that are very helpful. But in the meantime, this is all I'd like you to do for your own pieces to get ready for next week. I would like you guys all to add an author bio, just like I did here, so that we can play with this books panel a little bit more. So go ahead and create a front matter that has your copy and some nice intro pieces for your book, and then skip to your author bio and add in some of that. You can pull them straight from Wikipedia. Next week we will add in credits, so we're doing it correctly. But let's just go ahead and stop at that point, and then we'll pick up on styles. So I hope I've unconfused you guys a little bit. I'm sorry that things didn't work out the way I wanted them to on Wednesday, but this should get you back on track. And let me know if you have any other questions. All right, that is it.